Please review the tags and warnings before listening. You can visit the original fic by clicking the link in the description. Shamed and Shorn. Chapter 2. The first thing he notices is a slow, thudding sound in his ears, like a war drum, steady and loud until the silence between the drums grows shorter and shorter. His breath is shallow and matches the rhythm of the constant thump-thump. His eyes snap open, but his vision is blinded by a bright light. He can't see, he can't hear anything but his own frantic heart. He can't feel anything except a terrible coldness that seems to come from within his very bones. Panic grips him as he struggles to sit up, his mind racing with the fear of not knowing where he is. But he can scarcely move. He is trapped. His senses tell him he is encased in stone. Had there been a cave-in? How did he get here? He tries to recall where he could be. His eyes finally seem to adjust somewhat, and he looks down only to behold the Arkenstone in his very hands. He squints and blinks in wonder, watching the stone's beautiful light dance on the walls of his tomb. He remembers now memories coming all in flashes. He was dying. Bilbo was there. Thorin had died. The last thing he'd heard were Bilbo's pleas, reassurances, and sobs. He died, but he is now alive. He must be, because he can still feel his racing heart trying valiantly to escape his chest. Bilbo. Where is Bilbo? He tries to shout for help, but his voice comes out as a whisper, barely audible. Thorin's heart is pounding as he gropes around in the darkness, trying to find something, anything to hold on to. That isn't the cursed stone he is buried with. Suddenly he hears a faint humming sound, and he freezes. It is coming from somewhere close, but he can't tell where. Then he notices that the runes on the walls of the tomb are glowing with an eerie blue light. Thorin's eyes widen as he realizes what is happening. The magic of the tomb is activating, and he is the one it is meant for. The humming grows louder, and the air seems to grow colder. Thorin's breath is visible now, and he shivers in the icy chill. The runes on the walls glow brighter. Then a scraping sound, and the heavy stone slab on his coffin moves. Thorin watches the lid slide away, revealing the darkness outside his former prison. He tries to get up, but he is too weak. His limbs feel heavy, and his body is numb. He finally rasps.
Help.
A little louder.
Issy.
Then all goes black. No one breathes a word of Thorin's return outside the royal quarters. He's poked and prodded and endlessly questioned. Owen is ghostly pale when he approaches, and his cousin King Dane dithers nearby with his jaw slack.
Are you Durin returned?
He could lie. He could say yes and regain his kingdom and more. He could return to Bilbo a king once again with absolutely everything to offer.
No.
Dane takes a step closer and their eyes lock, searching.
Is it really you, Thorin?
He nods once.
Oh, Mahal!
A choked sob interrupts a voice Thorin has been waiting to hear. The small crowd clears, and there is Balin with his mane whiter than ever.
My lad!
He rushes to Thorin and wraps him in his arms. Thorin tries to embrace him, but only manages one arm to gently graze Balin's shoulder before it drops to his side again. It felt good to be touched with warmth and love, as opposed to being poked about like he was some kind of experiment.
Balin, why has this happened to me?
His father figure leaned back and sat on the edge of his bed in a room he did not recognize.
I was hoping you'd have the answer to that. Could it have been the Arkenstone?
Everyone in the room glanced at one another and murmured. Balin shook his head.
We don't know. This has happened before, as you know. But before your grandfather held the stone, it had been part of the mountain. It could be that the stone has been the reason for these things all along.
Thorin nodded and frowned.
I am not well, my friend. I know, lad, I know. It's all right. We'll figure this out.
He pats Thorin on the shoulder and squeezes reassuringly. He's been trying to hold back, but the burning question in his heart aches to know.
How is Bilbo?
The room goes quiet, and then dwarves are quickly exiting the room at Dane's insistence that they have only one visitor at a time. The door closes, and Balin looks back to Thorin and smiles.
He is well, last I heard. We've kept a correspondence, and I had planned to visit the Shire at some point.
Thorin smiled, the first in this new life.
So, he went back to his books and armchair after all.
Balin huffed out a laugh.
Aye, he did. He said you told him to. Dying wish, it sounded like, too.
He frowned thoughtfully.
I did tell him to. I'm glad he did. Is he...
Thorin swallowed, suddenly parched.
Is he happy?
A long sigh escaped his friend.
He admits to getting restless at times, blames us and wizards for it.
He chuckles then, but when it dies off, Balin gets a concerned look in his eye.
Are you going to tell him?
Thorin looks away.
I think you know exactly what I'm going to do. Dane will give you the throne. No!
Thorin shouts and snaps his glare to Balin.
I do not want it. I am not well, Balin. I can hear the gold calling to me in seductive whispers. And I am not who I once was.
Nothing could be more true than this.
Something has changed within me, and I know not if it is for the better or worse.
He looks at his friend again and reaches out. Balin takes his hand in both of his.
My life is tied to Bilbo Baggins. He is my one. I would have kept him by my side had I not lost myself to this sickness, had I lived. You do live, Thorin. Aye, and I will not waste a moment of the extra breaths I've been given. I will make amends. I will spend the rest of my days under green hills and flowers if he will have me. You cannot change my mind, and I ask you now, my friend, that you tell no one else I live, not even Dis.
Balin grimaced.
I am afraid it's too late for that. Dane sent a raven to your sister hours ago. Fuck.
Thank you for listening to Shamed and Shorn, a Bagginshield fanfic by Mordell. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you thought of this chapter.